in the closed session. There's a couple of more things that will be taken care of, and that's
yes. So just this one.
okay. The CAO report, and the council will go over the CAO's performance review. So with that, do we move over to the agenda? Councilor Gordon, Deputy Reeve Campbell, all in favor? Carried. Okay, declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Approval of previous minutes. 4.1, minutes of the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held January 4th. As printed and circulated. Councilor. Yeah. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 4.2, minutes of the regular council meeting held January 4th, as printed and circulated. Councilor Seat and Deputy Reeve Campbell, all in favor? Carried. And 4.3, minutes of the special council meeting held January 5th. That was as printed and circulated. Councilor Biden and Councilor Seat, all in favor? Carried. Okay, tonight we have a deputation from Richard Loser. So please proceed to the podium, Richard.
I believe everybody has what I was asking about. First of all, what I want to know is if the increase in the garbage is even legal. Second of all, what I'd like to know is whether or not any of the public has ever known or notified of. I'd like to know where the money is going. Out of what I've done so far, it's been a deficiency in the budget. It has nothing to do with the garbage. The garbage is on contract. I have a copy of it here. Now what's going to happen is you're already jacking up 50 cents now. So as contract's coming, how much money you want to bet? We're going to get $3 a bag. For what? Well, I come down to City Hall here. I can't even walk into City Hall because there's no openings. There's no nothing. There's no service. We're already being dumped on by paying for our own garbage. And most people are pretty respectful of that, and we don't have a cost. This was one of the highest tax paying areas. Why is the system sucked so much that the system, just the service, is just absolutely appalling? I've been here for a year. I come from Hamilton, I've come from Guelph, I've come from Toronto. What I see here is just absolutely appalling. This is not the way to treat your taxpayers. And they're paying everybody's paycheck in here. I don't know what's going on here, but I hope everybody's budget as aldermen's or councilmen's are on top, because I'm going to be doing a lot of research in the next year or two. I'm off work right now temporarily. So while I'm off work, I'm still not lazy. I'm more than willing to work for our community, for our children. I want council to explain where this money is going. For what reason did we get smashed again? Oh, well, we haven't had an increase for 2 years. Isn't that special? Gee, everybody's been washing their pockets somewhere or another. The contract was already signed. You jacked the price up before the contract is even due again. And then as soon as the contract comes up, lo and behold, here we're going to have another increase. And the service we get is pissed over. And I had to call council, or I had to call City Hall up, because all of a sudden the garbage company decided to change their route from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. I watched a little old lady running after a garbage truck, yelling, hey, wait, what kind of service is that? And second of all, to sit there and smash us, well, because we haven't had an increase. How much more do you take out of the everyday man? How much more money do we have to give? I just got my hydro bill, $330, and during the summer, $53. For an apartment. going broke. And if everybody thinks that we're gonna stand here and watch you guys just spend our money like foolishly, I want answers. I wanna know where the money's going, and I will research all of this. I'm really adamant on this, and I'm really pissed off that I came from the city thinking I'd come up here. And the reason I came here is because I love the community. I love the people. And then come back in and walk in and sing part of my French bullshit is what I just walked out of. It's not working for me. So I'm asking council simply, where's the money going? What was the reason? And also I do want to know who brought this motion forward? Or was there even a motion put in front of council that allowed this to happen? And I'll ask you to ask your legal entity, is it even legal what you did? Without public opinion, is what you did even legal? I'll leave the rest up to you. I think it's said enough.
Okay, I could go to staff, but you have directed it to council. And in your search, I advise you to go to our engineering or the landfills as
I have a couple contractor.
the contractor bill is only part of a landfill. We own a landfill. We are obligated by administrative requirement to follow things. In the first place,
if I may,
quiet, I'm speaking.
excuse me, you'll talk to me with respect.
They're done.
We're finished, thank you. We'll be back. Ignorance.
Out.
Thank you. No, I'm just kidding.
You want to join them?
You have to remember you're up for election next day.
I don't care about elections.
I'm going to shut up.
Get out!
Thank you, sir. We'll deal with this later. Have a nice day.
Those might want to further study that. Look at the engineering and what we pay for test wells and things on the landfill. That is where a big part of our costs are going. If we're really talking about bags of garbage going into the landfill, by the time you put closing costs on a landfill, we probably should be charging over $10 a bag, because that is the realistic thing. There still will be a bulge because we're not collecting near enough to have what we will need for closing of a landfill when it's full by what we're collecting so far. Thank you. Moving to the Reeves report. A number of things that I will say that one of the things that I was at on Thursday is the luncheon for marine commerce that was held in Toronto. And I think it was a very successful meeting. I got talking to the president, and this is for the expanded use of the ESTC in Rye and the courses that we're wanting to run there. And a bunch of the courses are dealing with marine commerce, firefighting, etc., where there's only 6 places in Canada that you can pick up some of these courses. Currently, Rye is the only certified site in Ontario for those courses, some of those courses to be run. So that was why I was there, putting the municipality's best foot forward and saying, yes, we were interested in supplying the service of being able to get those courses especially in southwestern Ontario, but in Ontario. I really don't have anything that hasn't been reported in other news on county council. Moving to 6.3, the Parks Department has no report. So moving to the Finance Department, bills and accounts. Is there any questions there? Councilor Sid?
Yeah, the only question I have is on page 3, it has to do with the visa. I understand you can't provide as much detail in the report, so is there a 3 read to go on what the 4,800 is made up of?
Sure. There's a lot of items on there, so I'll just go through them for you. So the first one is for an account through Dell Canada, and that was for through tax department. That was $1,377.47. So that was the invoice there that you had purchased there. The next one is also the tax department for Orpha Inc., which is a receipt for the membership renewal. And the third one for Pat's department at $152.55 is for some information of log books through Kim Shoal. So I'll just get Pat to go through the first 3.
Okay, so the first one for Dell is for a new computer for the department. So that was one person gets an upgrade, and then we shuffle the computers around from the highest user to the lesser users, and Richard procures that on our behalf. The receipt to the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association, that is an annual fee that we pay once a year to the Ontario Recreation Facilities Association for our membership, and that provides us with a lot of, that's our sort of our parent organization for arenas and facility maintenance. The Orpha Resource Center order form for log books. So all year, every day, we track all the temperatures, chemicals, and these are our professional log books for which we, for the aquatic center logging too.
Okay, so the recreation portion of that was $2,292.77. And then there are 10 invoices that total $2,582.32 that relate to the rest of the township part. So one of those is Connie's department, which is the GoDaddy web housing for $239.88. The next one for $32.77 is at the North Huron Children's Center, and that's a monthly subscription to Hi Mama, which is the daycare viewing where you can look at where your kids are at a daycare. The next one is also Connie's department in the amount of $25 even for renewal of Survey Monkey. That's part of our web hosting. The next one is through the Association of Road Superintendents, and those two are Kelly's department for memberships for 2016 on both of those for reclassifications. The next one is $395 for Zazio Enterprises, which is Kathy's department support for the annual filing system, the TAP system that's out in the office here. This one is for Constant Contact, and that is at the EST Center, and that's part of their email marketing, and that is $54.94. The next one is for a webinar for $109, and that is for a finance webinar that I have participated in on new legislation. The next one is for 1,000, and the last one is $1,301.76. And this is, Sharon has authorized this one, and this is for an IBM web server, and, so that was 1,301.76, so that's the whole total of that bill. I had asked Donna to make sure that she gives a listing, and I'll make sure in the future that we have a better listing. So here, you can have a look at any of them if you like.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on that?
Councillor Biden?
I just had a couple of questions for Hannah. On internal payments, it's always confusing when
Right.
North Huron is paying North Huron. So they're internal transfers to account for people who are working in different departments. But cleared that out very well. Thanks, Don.
Okay, all right. That was from water and sewer that Bob
Yes.
was referring to.
Trevor?
I'll, make a motion to approve bills and accounts.
And seconder? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.4.2, motion to receive the January 18th report of the Director of Finance for information purposes. Councillor Syed. Deputy William Campbell. All in favor, or question?
Yeah, I'm wondering, if there is something, I would like to see a report or something on the reasons for the write-offs. Is there a way that we can, $60,000 write-offs to property taxes is in my mind, is a significant amount that warrants further investigation on whether there's things that we can do as council or what. I just think, it's great to get supplemental increases in taxes, but if they're getting wiped out by write-offs, there really isn't any benefit. So I just think, looking at that figure from this report, I think I would like to get information if council so chooses to.
All those in favor?
Right, so Trevor, those are not arbitrary write-offs, those are all through MPAC. So those are all assessment reductions or changes in classifications or farm buildings coming down or some of those. I have a full and complete listing here of each of the individual properties and how much the assessments were written off, which you as a member of council could see, but on an individual basis of each property, we don't give that information out. But these aren't write-offs for bad payment or anything like that. They're all to do with reclassifications on property or buildings being torn down. And as you know, with the trend in some of the farmland properties, that's what's happening is the buildings are coming down, and this is the type of effect that it has on overall taxes. One of the big ones too, and some of the East Wallanosh Ward folks might be a little more familiar with that part of it, Trevor, is that if the property owners for farmers don't fill out the proper paperwork with LAFRA, then their whole farm, which could be, an assessment of like $1 million, could be returned on the tax roll at RT instead of the 25%. So when they do fill out their paperwork and get the reduction, it's very significant to our tax roll of that. And it's not an error or anything. It's basically that the farmers haven't filled out the paperwork. That happens sometimes when a farm changes hands and those types of things. So again, these are not arbitrary write-offs. They are all information received by MPAC.
Thank you, that clears that up for me, thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried.
Let me ask you to the.
Certainly.
So also, as mentioned in my report on item number 2, the budget meeting, so I know you're all looking forward to the budget process this year. So as noted in my package, February 8th is our first budget meeting. We're going to be starting that meeting at 6:30 till 7:30. That first portion, that 1 hour, is a closed information on your new eScribe system. And then from 7:30 to 9, the hour and a half, will be our first run at the budget. And we're going to be starting with that night, we'll be starting with renting facilities, and we'll be following along with Kathy's department, daycare, animal control, etc. So as at the, you will be given your first draft copy. Staff has been working on this for well over a month or a couple of months. And so February 1st, next council meeting, I will be giving you out your first draft of the budget. So in that budget, since the cutoff date is just a few days prior to that, we won't have our 2015 numbers obviously in that draft. But for February 8th meeting, my goal is to have inputted all the 2015 year-to-dates that we have at that point. So the budget will be exactly the same, all the information will be exactly the same as what you've been studying for the week. But at the February 8th meeting, I do hope to have your first round of 2015 numbers in that. So in addition to that, then, the staff will be sending you out a doodle poll. So what we would like to do is to schedule 2 more meetings before the Roma conference, which is the 3rd week of February. So the other 2 meeting dates we're looking at are either the 9th, 10th, or 11th, or 17th or 18th. So we will be sending you out a doodle poll to pick 2 additional dates from those 5 dates to schedule 2 more budget meetings. And then after everyone is back from Roma, then we will schedule some further budget meetings after that.
So it was 9, 10,
9, 10, and 11, or 17 and 18. So we need 2 out of those 5.
Those going to be day meetings or what?
Well, I started the 8th off, as we said, as an evening meeting, but that's part of the doodle poll. So if council has a bit of a say at the moment, I'm completely open through the day or into the evening, whichever council would prefer. So those other 2 meetings certainly can be scheduled at whatever time suits council best. Do you have a preference?
Well, I don't mind day meetings, but I'm tired of like open, just thinking of the ones that are working. It might be more of a conflict, but a day meeting is a nice way to go. You agree? No, Saturday, I'm busy.
Does council have a preference on a daily meeting? Would you prefer daily meetings?
Doesn't matter to me. Evening.
Evenings, that's what you said. Okay, so out of those dates, we'll carry on and we'll select 2 more dates so that we can, in the first 3 meetings, we'll get through the budget once, and then we'll schedule. That will leave us a week to do some work while council's away, have some of the council members at Roma, and then we can go back at it after Roma Convention. Thank you.
It's 6.4.3.1, development charges update report.
I raised a question with Don about, is it okay to raise a question, or do you want a motion?
I can explain.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay.
So, and Brock had a very valid question, which you'll notice in the report, in the printouts. And what his question relating to is that when we go through this process, our original background study that we hired Dan Ross to do was substantial dollars, over $33,000. And we are required, the bylaw that we passed, bylaw 43, 2011, that we passed back in 2011, specifically states that we have to do an update in 5 years, which this is the 5th year. And it is quite a lengthy process, so in order to get our bylaw, a new bylaw in place before the expiry of this October one, we have to begin the timeline that they have given us is February of this year in order to get it completed. So as Brock was pointing out, the costs are substantial for this, and some of the reasons behind implementing the development charges was anticipation of the large development for A2A, and that hasn't proceeded at this time. So we are allowed to recover, no matter how long it takes, the engineering fees through the studies. But I've done up an additional report for you in your packages to show you that over the time from 2011 till the end of 2015, we've collected $43,727.97, and we're only allowed to recoup some of the engineering fees on the study portion. So we definitely have a long way to go on that. But once we've gone down the development charges road, part of the process, we can talk about what to do at the end of the next 5 years, whether there's the opportunity to make some changes there, so that'll all be part of the process. But at this point, we are obligated to update this study, and it's a very long process for sure.
The question that occurred to me is it cost effective to even have this program? Because the charges are so expensive, but good answer, Don. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, because maybe in the next 5 years we'll discover that it was money well spent.
Okay,
So if I may, I'm looking for 2 motions there. So the first one is your statement up until the end of December 31st, 2015. So I bring you this statement each year for your approval, and I have to send that into the ministry each year, which we do as part of our FIR. So that's motion number 1. The second one then is, according to the Ross timeline, to get started in February, we would need pre-budget approval to proceed with this process to get started. And the cost of which they have included in the report is $18,500. So that's the second motion.
okay, the first motion,
I'll move the first one.
Councillor Bowden, Councillor Toledo. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the second motion, update, do pre-budget, Councillor Sight and Councillor Knott. All in favor? Question?
Yeah, just a question. I was gonna add, sorry, to that motion, that it's not to exceed 18.5. The reason why is because it says it's estimated here. And I don't want, if 18.5 is what we're giving them authorization to pre-budget, I don't want to come back here later and find out it was 26,000. Like, I would like to know at some point where the update is from 18.5.
Okay, that can be added. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.4.4, property tax update and report. You see that, so they can read the camera. And Councillor Watt, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.5.1 is the Recreation and Facilities Department report.
I move approval.
Okay. And Councillor Toledo, second it. All in favor? Okay. And also with that the council of the Township of North Huron authorize pre-budget approval to proceed with the expenditure of up to $5,000 for North Huron West Cass Community Complex roof repairs, which will be included in the 2016 budget. Can I have a mover? Deputy Reed Campbell, Councilor Kennedy. Question?
Yeah. For you to read, can you tell me, Pat, exactly, I know we've had some roof repairs in the past. Is this a different section of the roof, or is this is just a different section of the same roof?
Well, we're chasing leaks on an ongoing basis, and so as you can see, there was $8,000 spent this year, which corrected leaks over the iron and dressing roof, and some other leaks on the west end window and around that area. This leak that I'm particularly trying to investigate is over the fitness center and pool. And so we had a roof consultant look at it, and he suspected that it was coming from the humidity inside the pool. So Davis Architects came in to further inspect that, and indeed that is what he suspects as well. And the humidity for the pool, he feels is at too high a level, and also is reaching up into the roof, hitting the Z-girts and the metal roof, and then coming back in. So in fact, it's not an exterior roof leak, it's coming from inside. So the next, as we have in budgeted $33,000, this is an ongoing project, and because we flipped over to the new year, I can't spend without authorization. So we have $24,960 being carried over from the 2015 year to continue this project. I don't think we'll spend $5,000, but the initial request from Alan Davis's office was to bring in a mechanical engineer to investigate the Dectron and the mechanical parts of the pool and further investigate what needs to be done to reduce the humidity level and in fact figure out why it's penetrating into other areas of the building. So that's what this money is for, and I'd like to get that done now so that by the time we're into the spring, we're into repairs, not in still investigating.
Thank you very much.
All in favor? Carried. 6.5.2, revised 1419 Memorial Hall renovation schedule. Councilor Singh.
Yeah, I read this report, and I think it's based on the information I accept the report. However, I don't accept the continuous. We're chasing our tail here, and the part that really, for me, that really starts to add up is when the part where we consistently are not booking people, which therefore loses revenue in order to potentially have renovations. And, especially when I look at this, as we have what I read here, and correct me if I'm wrong, it states that we need to raise $2 million before, in a 3-month period. And I have a feeling we're going to be coming back here in 3 months and asking for another extension. So I guess for me, and I don't know what other councilors' appetite is, but we need to be looking at this as we need to make sure we want to keep it open so that they can renovate, but we can't continue losing revenue from services because we just decide that it might come at some point.
Councilor Knott.
As much as I appreciate and understand that the 1419 project is a good idea, we do need the renovations. This is now running into the second time we've asked for a deferral. There are
couple of things that bother me here. One is they're asking for March 31st, saying they're going to have the money, except it's also contingent on a grant, which they will not have on March 31st. They will only know if they've gone to the next stage. There's no guarantee that they're going to get that money, and we won't know that till July. So we're basing an awful lot, and although they guarantee, we're saying that they will guarantee the other $979,907. I question where's it going to come from. We already haven't received or hit our fundraising objective. I haven't seen a financial statement showing what money they have raised, so I'm rather reluctant to approve anything where I haven't actually seen dollar figures. And I'm just wondering where miraculously in July 31st, if they don't get the grant, they're going to come up with $1 million. So I'm afraid that, as Councilor Steve said, we've now deferred 2 seasons of rental income. And it's disruptive. We've had many of these people come with these shows year after year, and now we've got to put them off for 2 years. I'm afraid I just cannot support putting it off again, despite how noble the project may be.
Deputy Reed Campbell, do you want to speak to that?
You want to speak to that?
If you'd like to.
No, I have another question.
Okay, so I guess what I want to clarify is that the original schedule for construction, which was approved by council, meant that we would be tendering now for the project. What we've requested is that we postpone that process to the dates in the schedule, and if they meet their fundraising target, we will be proceeding this fall with construction. What I've stated and tried to give a clear picture in my report is that if that target is not met, then we will be back here and we'll be discussing the next step and the next schedule, and we would probably invite 1419 to present at that time what their next steps are. At this stage, I'm updating council that we're not tendering today as which originally was approved, because as of December 31st, we did not receive the check. They've been in touch with us. We worked with the architect. We've said March 31st is the deadline. We'd like this amount of money. The information about the grant, it's a different type of grant in that when you apply for it, they give you what's called an 8-month promise of confirmation. They could tell us in 4 months, they could tell us in 5, they could phone us tomorrow and tell us we have the money. That July deadline is an absolute deadline in which they promise we will know yes or no. It goes through a number of levels. We passed the first level. It's still being considered at the next level, and when it reaches the national level, they're letting us know as we proceed, and we will keep council informed on that as we go. My recommendation is that if we decide and the money shows up less the grant, that we do have confirmation from 1419 that they do have the rest of the money to back this up. And that's sort of part of the recommendation inside the report. But it is a staged process because we are waiting. We're not the fundraising arm of this. We're waiting for others to do the fundraising and report back to us. I hope that makes sense. It's a tough process, I understand. We'd like to have the money today. We know what we're doing.
Councilor Lawton next.
The underlying safety valve here is that no contracts are going to be let, no tenders are going to be called until money's in the bank.
Councilor Sadie.
So, Councilor Ron, I understand that, but what my concern is that we're turning away money for the potential of not, like, we have no idea when that fundraise is coming. Like, it's been, they could come back in March, and I know tenders, that's great, that because the tendering process starts the construction process at some point. But, you know, we could have a tender done, and we don't get any money, so nothing starts. We're still losing revenue.
So we don't have the money, nothing goes.
So that's what I'm saying. If we don't have the money, we're not going to tender. Then we're delaying even more. Like, we're catching ourselves behind the 8 ball here because $2 million needs to show up by March 31st. I don't see that happening.
Sure.
There are some challenges with that as well, because if we don't meet those deadlines to be able to get out to tender to get the project done within that season, then what happens if we're awarded the grant suddenly and we decided to defer construction? So we're gonna have to be speaking to the Department of Heritage around some of these issues with regard to timing. I have reached out to 1419, and I was supposed to connect with Karen Stewart on the phone today. We didn't connect, but I think the next step is we need to have some discussion with them, raise the concerns that council has raised tonight, and see if we can get an update on where they're at. There's another item with respect to this, and we have received a request from them to do a funding request as an insert in our tax bills, which we've never done before, a funding request for a private group that is not a committee of council. And so we thought we would bring that request to you, keeping in mind that it is a funding request going out in the same envelope as you requesting municipal taxes. And you may want to consider, whether that's appropriate. And are you going to do that for other organizations? So I thought I would bring that forward for some discussion.
Deputy Reed Campbell.
I'd like to back to the other one first. How much time do you spend? Like now you changed the deadlines. How much time do you spend rescheduling everything, doing out everything? This will be the second time now. Maybe it'll be the third time, but just, I know that you're busy, and how much time do you put into this that still costs too much money to?
Yeah, really, once we came to council with the proposed budget and the proposed construction plan, we basically put a pin in this project, waiting for the green light. So no, other than preparing this report and some phone calls, and working with the architect on some phone calls, there's not, I wouldn't say there's hours and meetings and lots of time being spent. It's just a report, letting you know where we're at. As soon as we get the green light, then there's going to be a lot of time initially set up to do the tendering. There's about 5% of the project which has to be finalized, and we can't do that until it's a green light to go. And then it will be a longer time consuming. But currently, right now, it is not overtaxing. Just to also quickly respond to what Councillor Syke was saying, the alternative is not to proceed with the project. We can't, or fund it ourselves. So the project is coming, the funding is coming from another body, and I'm just trying to tell you, we need this new, otherwise I'm supposed to be tendering right now based on council's direction to me. So I'm suggesting we approve this, we wait for March. It doesn't mean that there's not phone calls and conversations and things going on behind the scenes for us to get more answers for you. If the March deadline passes, then we will re-look at our options wholly. I think we have to, as is the funding too large? Do we need to phase in the construction? Should it be a smaller project? Or are we on track and they're very close to the fundraising goal, and a year from now we will be in the same situation? As Councillor Knott mentioned, I think it was the building requires a renovation. We're so fortunate that this community group has stepped forward to raise $3 million to make this happen. It's going to be community changing when it's completed. And I think if we can be patient through the process, we will be a better community at the end of the construction. But I know it can be somewhat frustrating, as all these deadlines are like balls in the air, of which we're all trying to catch at different times.
I have a little problem putting another flyer into our tax bills, asking for funding for 1419, because we're opening ourselves up. Any group, because we're not a committee of council, any group can come into us and ask us to do this, so we're kind of setting ourselves up for doing this.
I would prefer that it be done under a separate motion.
Okay.
For the suggested motion on 6.5.2, know that we don't want to set the timetable back. Is there any counselor willing to make the motion up? Counselor Vaughn moves.
I'll second it, but I do have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
I think in October, I asked for us to get an update once a month on the fundraising that they were doing and how much was coming in. I have yet to see any fundraising report of what they have provided. And there's really not much point of us going to March 31st until we start getting a report monthly of what they're actually getting. And so that we have a bit of an idea come March 31st, well, they're almost there. But to come to us March 31st and say, no, we don't have any more, we don't have any, I feel that we're getting that on.
Counselor Slade?
I agree, I understand Sharon's position, and Pat's position, I understand that nothing's gonna happen. And really, this is just a conversation about dates. But to me, the date isn't a manageable date, right? If they would have came here and told me March 2017 or October, or I might have a different opinion. When you're telling me that funds not received by March 31st, well, it's $2.7 million. I'm pretty sure by March 31st, it's not going to be here unless somebody runs the Powerball or Model 649. So that's the part that I struggle with. And give me realistic timetables and timelines on when you think this is going to happen, and I might have a better feeling of what's coming down the pipe. I agree. Like everything everybody said, we've put our names in this project, and we need to support it in any way, shape, or form. I agree with that. What I don't agree with is telling me March 31st we're going, and the resident council here that I know of is probably guessing that we're going to be talking about this in March or April 1st.
Well, I'll just make the comments that it has been said to me, many of the foundations give out the money during January and February. So hopefully we pick up a certain amount there. I'm not sure how the fundraising is actually going. I'm sure that there's people within the community that will be making their own donations sometime in the first 3 months of this year. I know that's what I'm figuring on for myself, so that there will be money coming in, but how much there is, and there will definitely have to be decisions made, probably at our first council meeting in April over this. Any further discussion? Councilor Knott.
I'm going to state, and I'm very uncomfortable with the fact we're making a motion. It states right in here on the condition that 1419 provides some remaining funding of the whole amount, 2.7 billion, by March 31st. If they haven't got the money for January, and can't provide that money, I mean, now we're talking March, and I still don't see the money, and everything in that report tells me that it's contingent on that 900,000. I'm very uncomfortable with whether that's even realistic, and whether we should put ourselves in a position of having to, if they don't come up with the money, then we're going to have to defer everything again.
Pat?
I was going to suggest, the reason I worded that is that if February 28th, the money shows up, let's move. I didn't want to have to wait to come back to council and further delay the tendering process. That's why that condition is in there. I would strongly suggest that if we're not comfortable with this motion, that we can bring back another one on February 1st that may address some of your concerns, and we can bring an additional report forward. I'm just asking maybe if we can have a motion that says we are planning to amend the construction schedule and the tendering process will not start because the funding is not here. I just want that on the records because of all of the past reports. I'm supposed to have tendering already. I don't want to do that. So I'm comfortable with coming back with more information. I've heard excellent feedback, and Sharon and I can also be in touch with 1419. But I know the motion's on the floor, so you have to address it.
Any further discussion?
Could we defer to the February and have some more information from 1418 what they kind of have to do? And their plan to get all that money in other than the break for the 31st?
That's not what the current motion.
If she gives the referral motion,
You can make a motion to defer, and then this motion goes away and comes back at the next meeting. So you can defer it to a particular meeting.
to the first meeting in February. You are, okay. Seconder, Mr. Site. Any discussion on the referral motion? No discussion on the referral motion. We will look at that in February. All in favor first. Yeah. Okay.
We will try to set up a meeting with 1419 as soon as possible then, and we can address some of council's concerns that were raised this evening with regard to mailing, and I can bring that back in the subsequent report as well.
You want to proceed with a motion over possible,
It's put to the treasurer and accounts mailing is February 20th. That's done, yes. So we would have time to bring it back on the first of February.
I'll make a motion to approve not having.
okay? You got that? All in favor? Think that would be unanimous. Moving to 6.8, the fire department of North Huron, department report received for information purposes. Is there any questions or comments on the report? David? Brett?
I was just moving.
Just if I could, just a handful of comments in your report, you'll see a fire call where was the first incident we've had on the Medicaid with Silver Creek Fire Department. We signed an agreement earlier this year for the northern part of West Turnberry, where the drive from Fly Station there is considerably further than if we worked with the Southeast Speedway. So we had the first activation of that, and it actually worked very well. So it was a good start to the program, and the timing on the right routes improved, but it is a good idea. Couple of things I wanted to throw out there just so you're aware. Tomorrow I'll be doing a report to the Huron County. I'm not sure what type of meeting it is, but anyway, I'm at the Huron County meeting tomorrow morning at 9 on behalf of the Huron County Fire Coalition. As some of you may be aware, James Marshall, myself, and a large number of other agencies formed a fire coalition to deal with fire dependencies last year for Huron County. Since 1999, 24% of preventable, which is basically non-criminal fire deaths in Ontario, have occurred in residences for the people for dependencies. So that the fire marshal, if you've got a one particular criteria, that means 24% fatality, every fatality is going to address. So, in cooperation with Fire Marshal's Office, we established a reporting coalition, of which I am chair, and we work to assist people reporting dependencies to ensure their safety. And as it is a mental health condition, trying to connect them with people to address the issues. I'll let Reed Benson decide if that's a report he'd like submitted to Northtown Council after he sees it tomorrow. Also like to acknowledge the fact that our co-op students for this semester are wrapping up their good time with us. And you've seen Don, Tiffany, and Joel at various administrative functions. Don and Tiffany are in Haiti doing mission work for the next week, 2 weeks, so they're already gone. But Joel's with us tonight, and I'd just like to commend the three of them. It's been outstanding having them. It's been great to work with. And I told all three of them I'd be happy to be a job reference for them should they ever need. It's been really good. January 1st, so those are something actually probably you already know it now. Tanker 4. The existing wing of Tanker 4 has been placed out of service. Mechanical repairs will be cost prohibitive to keep it in service. As a Band-Aid, Tanker 8 from Blythe Station to move here. We have 4 personnel trained to operate it, and between the 4 of them, they're ensuring we've always got someone in the area to look after it. New Tanker 4 leaves Florida tomorrow evening, first thing Thursday morning. Arrives in Ontario on Friday. Funny thing with some of the US trucks, they don't have pump heaters and cold weather equipment. So that gets looked after, and we should see it by the end of next week. So looking forward to that. And in conversation with all my chief colleagues, in connection with that, the US dollar is becoming a really big concern through fire chiefs and fire services everywhere. Every last thing we buy is American price. Our tanker for the buy today would be over $20,000 more than what it was when we purchased it, due to scheduled price increases and currency declines. I saw another fire department, another truck deferred last year. Last year was $340. The deferment put $405,000 for this year's budget. So that is going to be a concern as we get going forward, because anything they go to repair, anything we need to replace, is always U.S.-based pricing, U.S.-based costing. Wanted to comment and compliment our Reed. He mentioned going to the Marine Chamber of Commerce meeting. What he didn't mention is that, and no one's really sure how this happened, he went up to the VIP lounge. So it's one thing to go to the meeting, but the reason why he met some of the people he did is because he wasn't at the average attendees meeting. He was at the VIP luncheon. And most of the people who went to the conference weren't even aware this lunch was going to occur. So when I talked to some Marine partners, they weren't aware of it, and they called back and said, we have no idea how you guys got invited to that. So compliments to our REEF on making the big show. And we are excited, and there'll be a report to council and press release on that in the very near future. Other than that, I have reported before you, but those are some sort of other things I wanted to color in the picture a little bit.
Okay, we have Councillor Syke moving, Deputy Reeve Campbell seconding. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.9, CAO. You want to speak to that at all?
The first report that I have pertains to the closed meeting investigator, and I'm requesting permission from council to provide notice to terminate the agreement with LAS in favor of the Ontario Ombudsman. In light of the expanded role of the Ontario Ombudsman, I think it's expedient to use them for all investigation services, and their services are actually free to the public. So I noticed in December we received the invoice from LAS for the next 2 years, which exceeded $700, and they also charge an hourly fee for proceeding investigation costs in comparison to the free service provided by the Ontario Ombudsman. So I am recommending that we provide notice, and they have said that they will waive the 90-day notice period if we let them know right away in January, and we will not be required to pay the invoice.
You are moving?
Yeah.
Councillor Mott, Councillor Syke. All in favor? Okay, 6.9.2, draft procedural bylaw.
So we put together a draft procedural bylaw for council's consideration. It's not on the agenda for passing this evening, since it is a large bylaw and there are significant changes. So we have a staff report here that highlights those changes, and would welcome some discussion and questions from council before we bring the final draft together at
at the next meeting of council. The intention is to get the new bylaw passed and in place before we implement our new meeting management software. This bylaw has been modeled after the municipality of North Perth, who also uses eScribe, and also after Huron East. And those were the recently updated bylaws, so they have been modernized. And the changes also do reflect some of the items that were brought forward in the training that council had from Amberley Gavel and implementing some of those suggestions. So I welcome any discussion or comment from council.
Councilor Knott?
Okay. Meetings, section 5, the report. We made no changes to make the location or times of meetings, but I'd like to throw it out there that I'd like to see in response to the new procedural bylaw that at least once a year we hold a meeting in East Wallarush on the lot, since we do have a ward system. And we've done it before, we haven't done it in a while. But I would like to see that happen. So I'm going to throw that out there. And under section 5 as well, the last paragraph refers to recording of closed meetings. And I know that I had brought that up. I don't know if the CAO had a chance to double check that. But I believe, since we're moving the ombudsman's recommendation was that closed meetings be recorded. Those recordings, of course, are kept confidential, and even the clerk is really recommended to be kept. In the event that there ever is an investigation, it's very simple. It shortens the process by having the meetings actually recorded. So I'd like to throw out there that I recommend we change that section and closed meetings be recorded.
Sure.
Just from the verbiage I haven't seen anything about audio or video recording, but I've seen recorded in terms of keeping detailed notes. So that would bear some further investigation before I can comment that.
Okay, I'll go and look for it where I have seen that in the writing. So,
I agree it is important to keep detailed notes of the discussion within the closed. That is really the only place where you are supposed to keep detailed notes, because in the municipal act, the open session minutes are to be without order comment. So it strictly records only the decisions of council, which are the motions. With respect to any comments that come forward, I would like council to consider each item individually and direct staff if you wish to see the amendment in the bylaw that comes forward. So I'll keep a list and we'll go over them at the end of this.
Councilor Biden?
I have a question about section 8, first item. Council has technical inquiries regarding any of the agenda items that must require staff in advance. That sounds pretty heavy-handed to me, because often things are going to come up in the course of the conversation. I would like to have a little bit of discretion as to whether we saddle staff with serious questions that would require a great deal of research. In that case, I guess there's a motion. Do we want staff to go? But to say that we can't bring up those matters, I think that's heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think that the intent of that is if you have technical inquiries that are going to take a significant amount of research, that you would inquire the staff in advance so they can be prepared to have that information at council. If something occurs to you in the course of the meeting, you are certainly still welcome to inquire of that of staff. The idea is that staff would then get the direction of the entire council if they wish to proceed with that investigation. It may take a significant amount of staff time, and the idea is we work on the direction of the entire council, not one individual council member. So that's how it works.
Go ahead.
I have a question regarding this is in the actual procedural bylaw draft. Section 5.2, section B, under 4. or a service of invocation performed by clergy chosen by the reader. I find that objectionable. To me, that's a violation of our charter rights, and I don't think that has any place in our procedural bylaw.
Again, that is something that we can put forward to be up for council direction. It is something you do typically see in bylaws, but again, it's at council's discretion how we wish to amend this.
Councillor Slade. My only comment would be with regards to the public information, the public comment section of the report. I think public comment is important. I've stated in this council many times that I think that the public information that we get is valuable, barring that it's constructive. And I think by removing that, I don't think we're not removing the fact that they have a chance to come as a delegation to the council. We have process and procedures in order to request delegation that gives us a chance to review what their issues are, what their concerns are. But it also allows us to, the one thing I would question, or the one thing I would like to see, based on what council's perspective is I think if somebody has put in, because there is the option to decline what's the word? Delegation, sorry, thank you. There's that chance that we can deny them. I think we need to be very clear on what the guidelines are for getting a delegation. And if we do at any point decide to decline, or for whatever reason the clerk decides to decline it, that a written response to the request is presented and ensure that they understand why those guidelines. And again, I would hope those guidelines are within the bylaw, or at least in the notes of what the procedure is. So their public is quite aware of what the procedure is, how we manage it. It's more formal. The public comments will therefore come in a constructive way, and I think everybody will be more happy and satisfied with what we get. That's just my opinion, but I would take other councilors' questions.
No question, but to follow right along that same line, I did forward to the CAO a little section from Chatham-Kent's procedural bylaw where they've taken out, there is no, we do our public gallery question at the end of the session. It sometimes be an issue. But what they do is the agendas are published, therefore the public can be aware by reading that what is going to be discussed that evening. So what Chatham-Kent has done is they've set it up so that if you wish, you have up until 4:30, which I thought was a little late. Say 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the day of the meeting. If you wish to have a question, you would be treated similar to delegation as an individual, but you must submit your question to what they call there's the agenda manager, which is basically the clerk, who then reviews it and determines whether or not it's suitable for the agenda and it's acceptable. You're only allowed 5 minutes. It gives them a chance to question anything that is on the agenda before it's actually voted on. It's very short, very sweet, so it keeps that public gallery questioning in there, but it takes more control and allows them to go in there. I'd like to see if we could get that and distribute to the other councilors so you can read it. I thought it was a pretty decent way to do it rather than just eliminating public gallery questions. I don't believe that we should do that. I still like to see the public input to some degree. That limits it. And I also appreciate the fact that we've now gone to delegations to 10 minutes instead of 15. Why that? If we can keep doing that. So if we can, I mean, if we can't find it all, we send it to you, we can.
Again, we'll take direction from council on what they wish to see.
Yep.
I think the intent on this is to formalize the process, and we have to be prepared at our council meetings to answer questions to know what business on the agenda is on the agenda and how to deal with it. And one of the things that we're seeing is when we look back at past minutes for public gallery, because minutes are without note or comment, we have one sentence. We don't know, who was talking about it. We don't know when there was a decision made. And so staff will say, well, we know that was talked about 2 years ago in public gallery, but there's no record of it. And in light of the way that things are moving forward with the new expanded roles of the ombudsman, we need to put more formal processes in place to address concerns from the public, and to be able to document that and ensure that we have provided a formal response to that. So this tightens up that process, but it also keeps in mind the literature that is in the Sunshine Book by the Ombudsman, is that ultimately this is a public meeting and the public has a right to view the proceedings, but they don't have a right to actually participate in the proceedings. It is council's meeting, and council is to debate the issues among each other to make the decisions. So that is what you heard from your training at Andrew Gallo, and that's what's been incorporated into this bylaw and many others that are now being modernized.
Councilor Vaughn.
One question about section 5.6, section N. It seems to me that statement of electronic recording countermands our own video capturation.
Yes.
That's just not the closed session. That's the one I talked about earlier, where I said we should be doing that. Record the electronic.
Or is this the full meeting?
Yeah, it's proposed.
So again, these are standard provisions that I've seen in most procedural bylaws. Councillor Knott has raised the question about, he has seen some literature that says recording, and I've seen some literature that talks about recording in the aspect of making notes, accurately recording proceedings. So if council wishes, I can provide some clarification on that, but this is typically what I've seen in procedural bylaws. So it is in closed session.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Knott?
Just wondering if, and it goes back to the word and sort of involves this part two. Is this the proper place, and I guess this question may not go through such a see, is this the proper place to specify town hall meetings? Because that was another alternative to public gallery question. Is this a place where we should maybe embed something that says we are going to have a public town hall style meeting every quarter? Should we embed something like that? Make sure that we do follow through with that process. I know it can happen, we've done it before, we've tried it, but we've never actually followed the procedures. Every 3 months we're going to have a meeting.
This is probably the place to do it if we decide to do that. Councilor Vaughn?
I think it's a good idea. I think it's probably informal and gives people a chance to store up their beefs that they've had over a length of time. And we have an opportunity to, we're not making any decisions in those meetings. Nobody's going to win or lose an argument, but it's a way of taking the pulse of the public, and they can take the pulse of the council.
Councilor Sutton?
What I would like to, I agree. I have no issue with the town hall meeting. What I wouldn't want to do though is put it in a procedural bylaw where you're required to do it every quarter, and you do it for the first year and you get 3 people. Then you're wasting administration time in order to do it. Like I think it's a pilot project for a year to see what kind of turnout we get. I'm okay with that. I just don't think adding another meeting, we have public meetings now, and we don't have very much, if any, that show up. And I don't know whether that's because they don't know about it or what. I just, there is that option. We have public meetings now that are very unattended. So to throw another meeting for the potential of not being attended, I struggle with that. So. I'm sorry about that.
I agree with you there, but I think that if by embedding it there, it forces us to do something, we should revisit it in a year and take it out. But at the same time, we have to make sure that those meetings occur at a regular time and place, whether it's whatever, the first Wednesday or Saturday or whatever it is, every quarter. So people know when we publicize and make it public. A lot of the problem with people not attending meetings or find out afterwards is they weren't aware of the meeting, they didn't hear the radio announcement. So if we actually say we're going to do this, and we're going to do it the first Saturday of every month, then people know we can publicize that, and I think you see the attendance grow. If it doesn't work, we can revisit the procedural bylaw.
Sure.
Could I suggest perhaps the reverse of that council would pass a motion saying that they wish to hold meetings over the course of the next year to test it, and if it's something that you wish to do, then we would incorporate it in the bylaw rather than having to amend the bylaw.
But yeah, we can formalize that, because that at least formalizes it. So we can do that.
So I could bring that forward with the next report for council's consideration if you directly so.
Councilor Sutton.
I would just like to hear the rest, unless there's any other comments about what other direction that you're actually needing, Sharon. I just want to make sure I understand what all the questions that we've been asking you for.
Okay. So the direction here is we're proposing to change the locations of meetings once per year to add East Wamanosh and Bly. At least one meeting in each of those places per year. Recording of closed meetings, meaning audio recording of closed meetings. Remove the reference to clergy. Include some wording on how delegations are accepted to the agenda, so some criteria for the clerk to assess whether a delegation is accepted to the agenda or not. Direction, whether council wishes to receive the information from the Chatham-Cape Kent bylaw, and also consideration of passing a motion regarding town hall meetings. So I don't know if we want to put each of those into an individual motion or consider them as a group. Is there any that you wish to remove from the list?
Can I make a motion? We do it as a group. Both items, two directions.
I will second that motion. I just need somebody to clarify the clergy one. I just need to understand what it means.
So traditionally, at the inaugural meeting of every council,
Yes.
Councils have had a prayer or, a blessing from a member of the clergy. Councillor Godwin is asking that provision be removed. You could replace it with some sort of a reading from someone. I don't know if you have an alternate suggestion, but again, that's up for council discussion. There may be, we need to almost consider each of these items separately because I need to know how to bring back the bylaw to you next time.
My view is I would favor leaving it out altogether, unless somebody has another way of introducing what I think in view of the fact that we are serving a very diverse public that have all kinds of religious affiliations and non-affiliations, that it's by always bringing in a certain element to this, so that we are discriminating. And I don't think in a public organization like this, I don't think there's any place. It's akin to the opening exercises in the school, which has been changed over the years. And I just think it's inappropriate in 2016 to have that in our proceeding.
I would like an individual motion, I believe, on that one to get some direction from council on how you want the bylaw.
We have to deal with the one that it is being pulled for, special recognition. We have the motion for all the other, directions to go ahead. So all in favor of the one for going ahead with the direction for the other, action items? In favor? Okay, whoever wants to word the one, dealing with, the devotional portion of it.
Making a motion to remove the item from the inaugural meeting of council related to an invocation by a member of the clergy. That be removed from the procedure.
Moves, seconder. The motion fails, right?
Should be challenged.
Okay. Bill?
Ask this is a question, would we possibly make a motion to investigate an alternative method? Perhaps by inviting all denominations within North Huron the opportunity to send someone to attend, not necessarily, but to attend, and that we have them in attendance and recognize them, and so that they have the invitation. Because I'm wholly disagree. Not that I'm a religious person necessarily anymore, but I believe we should recognize all the differences that are created, and we invited them to have at least a representative. Then they could send someone, and if they wanted to choose amongst themselves for the invitation.
Creation Partnership Phase 2. And you are moving those or not? Okay, do we have a seconder? Councilor Canada. Question, Councillor Syed?
Yes, I do have a question. I just want to ask the question for you to, the CAO or Connie, or whoever. Is there going to be a staff report come back as to what the recommendations for the Alice Monroe museum, or whatever, however that we talked about where that should be or where it shouldn't be, or I remember looking at this report, and it is a very good report, but I don't see any part of those recommendations on where that should be or shouldn't be. So, and I think we've had multiple discussions in this council chambers that we were hoping that this market would give us a recommendation of where it's best suited. So I'm wondering if that is coming after this report.
In,
Connie?
in one of the 5 reports leading up to this was the culminating report, there is a museum report, Trevor, and I can get you a copy of that.
Does that report, Connie, provide recommendations on where it's best within the municipality for that museum to be?
Not definitively, no. If you'd like to read the report, and then we can discuss it, I guess.
Councillor Blood?
One of the recommendations in that report was that there's a need to establish or clarify the relationship with North Huron Council. I'd like to know what's behind that. I think somewhere along the line, we should be having discussions about what our role would be as a council somewhere down the road, and what is needed in terms of making a productive relationship with that group, the council.
Sure.
One of the things that we've discussed but have not been able to arrange is also having a meeting with some of our neighboring municipalities who have been partnering in the project. So maybe that's some discussion that we can initiate there to see what they envision their future role to be, and we could report back to council.
Go ahead.
I've been meeting with the Friends of the Museum, and they're looking at not specifically this issue, but a lot of related issues. One of their desperate problems is space, and for outsiders coming in to see what we're offering in terms of honoring a Nobel Prize winner, it's pretty meager. You know, it's just a little corner. I mean, it's well done. It's an attractive thing, but the scope of it is not very impressive. And I'm thinking that we need to have some really creative thinking in terms of, I don't know, using electronic media to reach out to the world, let them know what we have, and then when they get here, some impressive graphics or whatever to tell a story. And that's going to take some thought, and I think we have an important role to play as a council.
Okay, Trevor?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Watt, and the part for me is where our position is, or where my position is as a councillor. I'm looking for somebody to recommend to me what is the proper facility for that museum. Is it there? I don't know that. I would like somebody or report to tell me that, and if there isn't, then I think we need to look at it, because I think you're right. If space is an issue, then we need to understand that. But I haven't, as a councillor, I haven't seen a report on my desk that says, here's a recommendation. I know we've talked about this labor market partnership as being that was going to provide us with some recommendations, and they have, but they haven't been very specific on certain criteria on what we think we need. So that's where my question back is there going to be a follow-up report to kind of hinder where the staff look at this recommendation and put where our recommendations meet with those?
If I can, the intent of the projects that we have now would be to engage our whole entire stakeholder group and decide which recommendations we would move forward on, which we will kind of
jig to make it work for Huron County and which ones that we probably won't be able to, probably cost prohibitive to move forward on. So really, it's phase one. It was phase one to get the studies done. Phase two, if we're successful, we'll be to start seeing some of those come into fruition, some of the recommendations that are decided upon by the group that should be moving forward. And I will get you all the reports.
So decided by the group, meaning decided by this group or somebody else?
There was a stakeholder group that was established for that. So North Huron is certainly represented at that, but there was also other municipality in the counties as well. So, but that was for phase one. So phase two, we need to look at, again, re-examine, like as Sharon said, she will be talking to the other funders and see what their intentions are for next steps.
Okay. Well, the one thing that I will mention about museums, and I've looked at the fire chief and the hoarding committee coordinator. Basically, museums, by and large, are one of the worst municipal hoarding stories going, because they have so many things and only so much room to display. And that the thing of it is, museums, if you're going to properly display things and have it out tastefully, you gotta have storage space. And that's one thing, both at North Huron and at county. I question what money can be spent to display stuff. And there has to be a deacquisition program to move some of the stuff out of the museums if we're going to let new stuff come into the museums to be displayed, so that it's something that it's a catch-22. Councillor Wadden, you have another comment?
Yeah, the report really shies away from the idea of a museum. It says, you know, there are all kinds of examples of museums that were set up to honor various people, bellwethers and so on, and that they have gone bankrupt because of lack of revenue. And so it's important to look at other ways of commemorating this very, very, very important achievement, but not by creating another monument, which will just be a bill of expense for everybody and perhaps not achieve a great deal.
Thank you for those comments, and that you can build something, but can you afford to keep it going? Okay. Okay. This vote is to provide a letter to the Ministry of Training Colleges and University in support of the funding application for phase 2 of Huron's Creative Countryside Job Creation Partnership. Bill and Yolanda, all in favor? Carried. Okay. 6.9.4, building the literacy landscape, the growth potential in Alice Munro Country, culminating report roadmap for action. And this motion is to accept the final report of the Alice Munro Labor Market Partnership as presented. Councillor Wadden, Councillor Dominga. All in favor? Carried. Okay. In the facilities report, there was a motion required for Oh, we don't need a motion? Okay. Pat, I'll let you speak to it.
I guess I just wanted to bring to attention, I gave you my sheet. In my report was, thanks. 2A, which was just about the Memorial Hall fee waiving request. There was a letter also there. I just, if there's no action from council, that's fine. I just wanted to, Dawn and I continue to put these inside our reports. And just want to make sure the council's aware that that's where we are putting these requests with our recommendations inside our reports. But if there's nothing, no action, that's fair. I just wanted to let you know that that was in there.
Bill?
I just make the comment that I don't know if we need to really put them in our reports. It's 2016. We've made a policy with regard to how we deal with requests. So they should simply get the answer back that that is our policy. And thank you very much. And that applies to everybody. No point in this debating.
Yeah, I had direction until the end of 2015 to bring them forward, and this was still from 2015. So I understand your direction then is moving forward, that they would receive a copy of the policy and information on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving to 8.1. Wyndham Golf and Curling Club request for support. Councillor Sight.
I make a motion to defer it to budget deliberations.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, 8.2, the residents of Junction Place, and the council has received correspondence from the residents. Is there anything that council wants to do with that? Councilor Knott?
I'll just make a motion that we received the correspondence, received and read.
In favor? Carried. Okay, 8.3. Basically, this is having the CAO prepare a report in response to the House and Dam Committee delegation and correspondence.
Make that motion.
Campbell and Councilor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, council information, there's 8 subjects there. If anybody wants to pull any of them out for special recognition, that's possible. Deputy Reed Campbell.
The very first one on the small community fund, what was that project for?
That was for Edward Street.
Okay.
Councillor Sight,
Correspondence ordered, read and filed.
moved.
Yes.
Councillor Kaninga seconds. All in favor? Carried. And there's correspondence available at the clerk's office.
Order, read and filed.
And Councillor Wyden seconds. All in favor? Carried. Okay, into committee reports. Blythe BIA. Is there any questions from those reports or any extra comments? Councilor Knott.
I would just like to note that council, you'll notice the annual general meeting February 23rd there. I believe the wing one's 24th, correct?
Yeah.
25th? Or just
February.
encourage anybody,
February.
February, yeah, for the annual general meeting, so just, you know, if you can put it in your calendar, it'd be nice to have any of the councilors who can attend, and any of the public as well can also attend if you're interested in learning how to BIA, live BIA. It's the only comment.
Okay. Okay, 11.2 Wingham Town Hall Theater Committee minutes. Any questions or comments?
Just to make everyone aware that there's a fundraising event coming up on January the 31st. It is a concert featuring some local talent, and there are tickets available to be purchased. If you need any more information, I'd be happy to help with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 11.3, the Wingham Area Health Professionals Recruitment Committee. It's November meeting. Okay. Do I have a mover for ordered, read, and filed? Councilor Knott and Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Okay. Bylaw number 10, 2016, being a bylaw to regulate the fortification of land and protective elements applied to land and to prohibit excessive fortification of land and excessive protective elements being applied to land within the township of North Huron. And this read a first and second time. Count.
Do I make that motion first? I'd like to have a question.
Can I have mover and seconder and then we'll,
Okay, also move.
okay, and Councilor Gordon seconds. Go ahead, Bill.
When we looked at this before and deferred it, I had asked that we have some legal review of this, and Chief Sparling indicated that he thought Howick, who drew this, I believe was from Howick Township, had done that. I have yet to see that. I haven't seen it.
So, at the conclusion of that, I indicated that this would probably fall under building official standards. So that was deferred to Kim, and he got the list of questions that council had. I understand some councilors came in personally and saw him about those issues. But the questions council did have were addressed, including the lawyer, so.
Good evening. I can help you out there.
Right away.
Most of the time, legal opinions are something the municipality paid for, okay? They're not gonna hand those out. I mean, I don't think we hand out our, I guess what you refer to as our personal documents, just ad hoc to people. And they're not gonna do it either. So on the upside to that, I can inform you I was involved with, I guess, the groundwork for this particular bylaw when I was working in Minto. There was a number of municipalities, well, the whole Wellington County was involved in the review, the implementation of this bylaw and the legal review of this bylaw. Okay, OPP were involved, all the building officials were involved, and fire ambulance even had some input into this. So it was looked at, torn apart. Other municipalities, their bylaws were looked at. Some of them are fairly lengthy and thick, and I find most of the time you just get into, causes. Sometimes the bigger the legal document, more problems it causes. Okay, this is pretty straightforward and simple. And if you read it in its entirety, okay, and then go back and take where the exemptions are and what the laws or the bylaw is referring to, I can probably say there's not a person in this room that will ever have to have anything to do with this bylaw, okay? It specifically, there's one paragraph in here that tells you that this particular bylaw deals with somebody or group of somebodies who is trying, okay, to prevent emergency services, whether it be police, fire, or ambulance, from entering a premises undetected or without them having a chance to either fend them off or to dispose of whatever legal activities they're doing. So, and that's long and short, that's what the whole document is about. So anybody who's doing anything legal on their property, okay, whether it's climbing up to the top of their silo and taking pictures or making videos because that's what they like to do, or if they have a property that they feel is, you know, on the outskirts of town and maybe is not particularly well lit, maybe a little vulnerable for some reason, is it going to stop them from barring the windows or doing something to protect their property? No. Okay. Comes back to intent. Most law comes back to that, right? You know, is there criminal intent there? No, there's not. Okay. The intent of the bylaw is to take a look at this municipality, protect the citizens, protect the MS guys from having to deal with fortified premises. And, you know, unfortunately, we can't, you know, tell you everything we see on every property when we're out there every day for a number of reasons. But even in, you know, this municipality, there's people who would, okay, do things like, you know, put heavy steel doors on, you know, electrify those doors, do whatever to keep people out, okay? That's what this is aimed at preventing, okay? So hopefully that clears up some of that for you. I've discussed it with the police locally, and other than that, any questions?
Seriously.
So Tim, I have a question, the fact, like, if this is to do with illegal activity, potentially, I have a problem with the fact that if they're willing to break federal law and provincial law, why do they care what bylaw the township of North Huron puts in? Like, why would a person care? So
It's not, you can't make people care, okay? So.
But what's the enforcement then? The problem is, that's my problem.
The enforcement is, okay, when these buildings are left over, okay, it doesn't matter, and we're going to be coming forward with other bylaws to deal with these type of things, okay? When these buildings are left over that have been fortified, okay, if you don't have any enforcement for people doing stuff like that, you know they've done it, okay? You know, it's obvious, okay? So when they go in, we just had one a little while ago get East Wallanosh in this area, okay? There's stuff done there, okay? Could we have charged them? Yes, okay? So the Provincial Offenses Act has made fines fairly substantial, okay? I mean, they're thousands of dollars, right? So if we lay a charge and we get a conviction, and there's 5 or 6 people, say, just for example, running a, you know, it's legal grow up or it's a meth lab or whatever, right? If they're doing that type of thing and you charge them all, right? And say you get a $6,000 fine on each one, 75% of that comes back to the municipality to help pay for the cost of remediating that property. Because it's going to be in all water power, right? Like, we got to fix that, right? You just can't turn around and say, well, I'm not going to do nothing with that property, right? Okay. You know, there's going to be things there that fall under property standards that you have an obligation as a municipality to take care of. Money's got to come from somewhere.
So to follow up with that, is it in your perspective that you believe that we would get that money? Like, anybody can fine anybody. It's whether you actually can get the jingle to actually establish.
Well, that would be true of any law. So what do you do? Not have any laws that have chaos? No, you can't do that. Okay, and I don't think that's what you intend.
That's not my intention.
But that's where it goes, right? Okay? You just can't stand back and do nothing, okay? And, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, okay? We have a few things going on here in this municipality right now where, you know, it's taking us time, right? Based on following the procedure, following the law. Will we get our money? Yeah, okay, eventually, right? But you gotta follow the process, right? But if you don't have a process in place, you got nowhere to go, right? You're just gonna stand there and have properties, it could be in town here, it could be out the country, but it could be in town here, right? And now you've got a property that needs to be, you know, remediated because, you know, let's take a case like in Hamilton where, you know, they're making chemicals, whether there's meth or whatever in the apartment. They resell that place or they release it and nobody's gone in and remediated that place. And the poor little kid that you put in the bathtub has to soak all those chemicals in before somebody realizes, hey, you know what? We should have done something with that before it was turned back over to the general public, right? Well, it's the same thing with any house in this municipality that's been used for that type of reason, right? You gotta take care of it. You just can't put people at risk and let it go, okay? They do all kinds of things to these properties, right? Okay? They bar them up for a reason. They don't want you to see that they've, you know, punched holes in walls and, you know, they're stealing hydro and they're doing this and they're doing that, right? So, yeah, I mean, you know, you have to start somewhere, you know, and, you know, hopefully, you know, you don't have to, you know, rely on this, right? But, you know, it's just a tool and something else to, you know, help deter people. That's all, okay? And you may get on it before they get to that point, right? Okay? Somebody comes along, I mean, without going in to help people build cases, I mean, if you're, as a police officer, you're sitting on a place and you're watching traffic come and go, and you know the people that own the place have been busted like 4 or 5 times before for the traffic, say, right? Well, now you got your traffic flowing, you know that's going on. Well, next thing you know, you see bars on the place. You think you're gonna have trouble convincing the judge to fortify the place? No. Okay, so, you know.
Councillor Knott?
Through yourself, Reeve, so I guess the main thrust of this bylaw isn't so much prevention, then what it is remediation. In the event that we find that people have done things, this gives us a method of removing.
Either done or doing them.
Okay, so not so much prevention, but it's.
I
kind of got the fix.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I can't say any law it's gonna prevent people from doing it because I keep fairly busy, so.
So just let me ask a question. If this bylaw doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist?
Does not exist. What do we do today? Because it doesn't exist today. If we have an issue today.
We have no power of entries till afterwards, okay? This gives us power of entry if we catch it before it gets to the point where, you know, the people are charged and busted and we gain entry through, you know, UOPP or somebody come along and saying, hey, you know, this place was just taken down, this was what was going on there. That gives me, as a building official, the reason to suspect the place may be unsafe, okay? So now I can go in and inspect because I have the right of entry, okay? Okay, this gives me right of entry before you get to that point.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, thanks very much, guys.
That is for first and second reading. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to third reading and finally passed. Deputy Reeve Campbell, Councillor Vodden. All in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaw number 11, 2016, being a bylaw to require the identification of truss and lightweight construction in commercial and industrial buildings and residential occupancies with 3 or more dwelling units. Councillor Sype, Councillor Vodden seconds. All in favor? Carried. Okay, to be read a third time and finally passed. Deputy Reeve Campbell and Councillor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, bylaw number 12, 2016, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council an amendment to bylaw number 52, 2015, being the donation and fee waiving policy for the township of North Huron to include an affiliate and community groups identification to receive reduced rental rates cited as Schedule B for the corporation of the township of North Huron. First and second, Councillor Knott, Deputy Reeve Campbell, all in favor? Carried, to be read a third time and finally passed. Councillor Sythe and Councillor Tenenga, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 13, 2016, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council an agreement between the corporation of the township of North Huron and Millstone Crop Services for maintaining and operating a radio repeater tower. Read a first and second time. Councillor Knott, Deputy Reeve Campbell, all in favor? Carried. We read third and final time. Councillor Sythe and Councillor Tenenga, all in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. Okay. Moving to public gallery questions. Denny?
This is kind of a two-part question for yourself to Pat. Did 1419, did they give you any funds they raised right away, or are they waiting to give you the funds once they've accumulated it all?
There was a schedule for receiving the funds because this is a three-phase project. So phase 1 and 2 were received, and then this is the phase 3 piece. And so it's not as they raise it, we receive it. It's by the date it's been required. The phase 3 sum is received by the township.
Okay. So the second part is, how much of the remaining $2,700,000 have they raised? Are you aware of that number?
I am not aware of that number.
Andy?
Thank you, Reeve Neal. Council members, our House of Dam committee's here, and we are not just quite sure what your motion means that was passed with respect to item 8.3. This CAO compare report. Are you going to have a chance to meet somebody to talk about this issue, or?
So, council has directed me this evening to prepare a report back to them on your delegation, so the request that you made during your delegation, and also your correspondence this evening. So, I will be bringing back a report to council in February as per their direction. As always, I will provide you with a copy of that report as it's coming to council.
Will you be in touch with us while you're preparing the report, or?
If I have any questions with regard to that I need to provide information into the report. Right now, your delegation requested to be a committee of council, so I will be assessing that request against the existing committee appointment policy. And I will also be addressing your questions within the correspondence that you have on the agenda today. So I think you've posed some questions. So I will be addressing those questions in the report.
This policy about establishing committees of council?
Yes,
Where
I've
is it?
provided a copy of that to Rennie, I believe. He requested that previously. So if you wish to have another.
I did not get a copy of that.
Okay, I thought I had provided that to you, but it's certainly available. It's been considered at council, so if you require a copy of that, I can provide it.
I think that's everything. Yeah, we We suggested to you that there's a company that's interested in generating power at the site. Did you need any more information about that? I know you attended the meeting when Mr. Boak from that company was here. He's provided us with significant additional information in that regard.
That's correct. At this point in time, the next step will be to receive direction from council as to what direction staff is supposed to take with respect to the structure. So that will be coming forward in the report. So at this time, the direction from council has been to release funds from the reserve to investigate the feasibility of repairing the dam. We have received a preliminary engineering report that came back to council with some costs, which we have advised council of. And now council is requesting some further information. So we will have to receive direction from council as to how staff is directed to proceed.
But the critical thing is whether to make it a committee of council.
And that address will be addressed in the report coming forward.
Okay then.
Steve,
If the ombudsman recommends recording closed sessions of council meetings, will council do so?
we'll definitely obey the laws and everything.
I'm not asking, it's not the law, it's a recommendation. They've done it 2 years in a row in their annual closed meeting report. That's 2 years in a row that they've strongly suggested that these meetings be digitally recorded. So concerned that both of you don't know that. So the ombudsman recommends that we record closed sessions of council.
It's suggested, I know from county council, that there's definitely far more detail in the recording of the closed meeting than, say, a motion just in regular open session.
Sorry, but you're still not answering the question.
I'm not sure exactly.
If he recommends digitally recording closed sessions of meetings, currently only 17 municipalities in Ontario do. You can decide to be the 18th. If you want. It costs absolutely nothing. Richard can just hit the record button and make it a private thing on YouTube. It doesn't have to be public.
It has to be private.
It will be private. It can be put on YouTube in private.
Trevor.
Well, I believe our recommendation tonight was from Councillor Knott, that if it is, if it can be recorded, if that's what the ombudsman's words are, is to be recorded digitally as opposed to being recorded by paper, then we've recommended that happen. I don't see that to be the issue. I think that's the concern that I have, but I don't know if that's what I read into that.
Councillor Knott.
Actually, what I've asked is that staff will look into it and see if that is the recommendation, and then it will come back to us as a council and we will vote on it. And so at that time, we'll make the decision. Obviously, I'm in favor of it, but that doesn't mean everyone else will.
Those recommendations are in the ombudsman's annual report and on YouTube.
Yeah.
Very easy to find. It's 2 years in a row that they highly recommended that we digitally record your meetings. So if the ombudsman recommends recording them, will you go ahead and record them? So yes or no?
No, it's
It's from the staff report. We will make the decision when the staff report comes forward on the CAO checking that.
So council has directed me to bring that back as a consideration before they adopt this bylaw. So that will be in the report that's coming back at the next meeting before they adopt this bylaw. As it stands in the bylaw now, it says that it's prohibited. So council's directed me to investigate otherwise, and that will be in the report, and then they will have to debate whether they wish to make that amendment before the bylaw is passed.
I have spoken with the ombudsman, if he does recommend it, and if it's all tomorrow, I'm sure he'll confirm it. But they do highly recommend it.
Is there any more public gallery questions or comments?
The dam committee, one of their specific questions was about a stability test. Is a stability test required?
It is, and I will be bringing that back.
So it is required.
It is required, and I will be bringing that back to council in a written report as directed by council. So the intent tonight is not to debate the issue. I think it's better to have everything on paper as we spoke tonight in the procedural bylaw, that there's a record of what council is considering, and I can bring that back in a formal report to council.
So stability test has definitely been requested by an engineer or?
It's the Ministry of Natural Resources that has that requirement, and I have received a written response from them. But again, I will provide that to council in a package, in the council package.
Okay, we have an in-camera session, so do I have the mover? And Councilor Syfe, Councilor Biden, all in favor? Okay. Okay.